Welcome back to another edition of Grizzlies Daily. I'm your host Malik, and let's just get straight into it, man. So right here we got some news waiting to be confirmed, but the source that I got this from, he's very accurate when it comes to these kind of things, especially with the Grizzlies. This is from my guy Mike, aka Grizzlies Legend, on social media. If you follow him, you know he's pretty accurate when it comes to news. Basically, he put out a tweet saying that the Grizzlies have informed sharpshooter Luke Kennard that he will not be re-signed under any circumstances. This is per a source that he knows. Um, Got to be honest, it's not really news to me. More so, just slight up in the percentage in confirmation. I was a firm believer that the Grizzlies will move on from Luke Kennard. Honestly, the last playoff series, well, this last playoff run, it kind of showed us that Luke Kennard isn't. He's not in the Grizzlies picture when it comes to the future. We're talking about a guy that can literally shoot. He can shoot lights out with the ball, but when it comes to just putting up shots, he was very scared when it came to shot attempts or even just holding on to the ball for that matter. I mean, we're talking about a guy that would play 15 to 20 minutes a game, and you would have thought Luke Kennard was a point guard more than a shooting guard. And I think the Grizzlies finally realized that, hey, we signed you to shoot the ball. You're not shooting the ball. And when you do shoot the ball, it's not efficiently. So this does not come as a surprise to me. And in fact, it really does come as a surprise because, if we're being honest, Luke Kennard was on the trading block for the longest time, especially at the trade deadline. They tried to put him in a deal with John Conchar and I think Miami, but the deal just didn't work out. So we knew there was a possibility that Luke Kennard was not going to return to the Grizzlies, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, I enjoyed Luke Kennard's time in Memphis for the most part, but there were definitely some times where it was very questionable, and one of those being the second half of the year, especially around that trade deadline. Luke Kennard caught fire, like literally caught fire, and then he just all of a sudden realized, hey, I'm on the team still, and he just kind of lost it. And I think the Grizzlies realized that there are plenty of other shooters out there that can do what they do what he does, and they can get him for more value, and honestly pay less for him. So, wouldn't be surprised if we see Luke Kennard in a trade deal, or maybe they just let him walk in free agency. I would prefer to have him in the trade package because you can definitely get some value out of Luke Kennard. It's a couple teams that still need shooters, and some teams are still interested in Luke Kennard. So definitely still consider putting him in the trade package and see what you can get out of that. Now, moving on into other things, I saw this in an article from my guy Parrish at Beale Street Bears. He kind of went into detail saying that the Grizzlies should. He didn't say the Grizzlies should be worried. I'm saying there should be some worry for the Grizzlies when it comes to the future of Zach Edey. One reason being that Zach Edey is dealing with something that we've been kind of worried about going into his career that we've seen now twice. I mean, let's be honest. It hasn't even been a full calendar year, and Zach Edey has dealt with two ankle injuries to the same ankle, that left ankle. One being in the middle of the year where he missed 12 straight games. Then we get to the all season. He had surgery on this ankle during the all season workout. He injured it, and now he's going to miss the beginning of next season. So as much as I'd love to give Zach Edey a chance, and I still want the Grizzlies to give him a chance to fully develop and, don't give up on him just yet. I do want to say there is some concern still that Zach Edey may not be healthy in the long run. And that's a honest opinion that I feel like is normal to have. I mean, he had this concern when he was in college. Many people will tell you that. Now, that didn't stop his stock. That didn't prevent his stock, but at the same time, it definitely was some skepticism. I mean, the more skepticism with Edey came from people saying that he would have a hard time adjusting to the league. I necessarily didn't believe in that, but at the same time, I did think, give him time to update to the game speed. But with these injuries, it's kind of hard for him to do that because if you're not on the court, can't really get adjusted. And practice speed is different than game speed. So definitely something that I would say should be in the back of the Grizzlies' mind, and that's why I've been advocating for them to get another center, one that's a veteran that he can play behind or learn from at least, just in case, this does come up to be an issue. I mean, let's just be honest. The Grizzlies had some flaws, specifically pick and roll defense and just perimeter defense when it came to pick and rolls. So I would say get a center for that part alone, but definitely consider getting a center just for the fact that you don't know when Zach Edey will truly figure out his ankle problems. That's something that takes time. We've seen centers that have great potential fall victim to lower leg injuries. So hopefully Zach Edey doesn't really fall victim to that later in his career, and it's something that I think the Grizzlies should definitely consider going forward. Now, something else the Grizzlies should really consider, in my opinion, a trade involving DeMar DeRozan. Now, the reason I say they should consider a trade like this is because you're still trying to figure out what to do in that 2-3 guard spot right there. So obviously you got Jalen Wells moving forward, but you traded Desmond Bane away. So you're still skeptical on if you should go after another wing in like a DeMar DeRozan, or if you should go younger with a wing like Trey Murphy, like we talked about earlier, maybe even RJ Barrett. But I think if we're being honest, DeMar DeRozan would be a good fit. DeMar DeRozan would be a good fit, absolutely. Let's just be honest. I mean, the Kings aren't really doing anything. They traded for Zach LaVine, but if we're being honest, we've already seen how a Zach LaVine-DeMar DeRozan duo looks. It just doesn't work out in their favor. So I think if you split them up, you get the experience that DeMar DeRozan has, you get the mid-range shooting, you get the floor spacing, and you even get great defense out of DeMar DeRozan. And it's a great veteran presence. I mean, we're talking about a guy that has played some of the toughest in the league, and he knows what it takes to somewhat beat these guys. He knows how some of these guys think. He even knows how to lead a team. I'll just be honest. I mean, in those years in San Antonio, DeMar DeRozan, he knew exactly really what to do. He's shown promise as a leader, and that's something that the Grizzlies are really looking forward to. And plus, he brings that toughness that I think the Grizzlies can definitely take advantage from. Now, obviously, he wouldn't necessarily fill the box when it comes to shooting on the perimeter, but I think you can make that up with other players. I don't think DeMar DeRozan is a guy that you look at and it's like he solves all the problems. Even if he did solve the problem of three-point shooting, you still want other talent that can do that exact same thing, because if you fill the other talent, your bench, your depth is scarier as time go by. I mean, you look at OKC, yeah, they got pretty good shooters like Lou Dort, Shea, Jalen Williams, and sometimes even Chet. But off the bench, you got Aaron Wiggins, Casey Wallace, all these other guys that can shoot the ball. Now, granted, recently in the finals, y'all have seen that Oklahoma City has not been shooting the ball well at all. But I just looking in the regular season and just in the past, how did they get to that point? They got to that point with other guys that came off the bench. So I think even if you trade for a guy like DeMar DeRozan, you do have to keep in mind that you still have other parts of the roster that you need to fill out. So I don't think the Grizzlies, if they ever consider something like this, they will look towards, a trade for DeMar that just overall like, okay, we're done for the whole season. That should not be the case. I think you should definitely build from it, but they shouldn't think that it's an end-all be-all trade. So definitely something that I really hope they consider, but at the same time, we have seen other options that would fit better for the Grizzlies, but DeMar DeRozan just a possibility. So I think that's something that I think he's a player that should add to the list. Just make some calls about, see what the value is like, because DeMar DeRozan, he still is a talented player in the league. Now, speaking of talented players, Jaren Jackson. And the reason we are on the subject of Jaren Jackson Jr. is because I don't know what's going on at ESPN, but they are back on the train of talking about the Grizzlies in a negative light. Now, if you didn't know, Kendrick Perkins went on Gil's Arena and basically said Jaren Jackson Jr. is the most overhyped NBA player. He said, full quote, Jaren Jackson Jr. is the most overhyped and most overrated player in the league. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Ja Morant only had one season where he played over 60 games in the season. They messed up when Dillon Brooks left. Now, my response to this, and this is my 100% response, Jaren Jackson Jr. can't be the most overhyped and most overrated player in the league when, he's not even hyped up enough to be considered overhyped. Not many people even realize Jaren Jackson Jr. has that much talent to be considered overhyped. That's for one. Two, he's not the most overrated player in the league. There are, once again, I will keep saying this until people understand the point. There are 29 out of 30 teams that would absolutely want Jaren Jackson Jr. on their team. Your favorite team would absolutely make a trade for Jaren Jackson Jr. if the Grizzlies propose for it. If the Grizzlies propose a trade to your favorite team for Jaren Jackson Jr., your team would be on the phone trying to make that deal happen. Teams want Jaren Jackson Jr. Not to mention, how can you be overrated if this is a guy that was 10 votes away from third team All-NBA. He was an all-star. This is a guy that was at one point in the first half of the season was a lock for All-NBA and maybe even a lock for Defensive Player of the Year. So how can he be overrated if we're looking at these things and we're like, man, he's really hooping out here. So I think just the recency bias is really killing people. And honestly, it's something that not even Kendrick Perkins is thinking. It's actual fans that think this. I literally went to Twitter and said that, Grizzlies fans are the only fans that have an all-NBA level player and are quick to say he's overrated. No one else thinks that except for them. Every other team, you look at the Jaren Jackson Jr., they have nothing but praise for him. They see the potential. They see that he is a all-NBA level player. So I don't understand this take. I even saw somebody that said Miles Turner is on the same. They'd rather have Miles Turner than Jaren Jackson Jr. and they pulled up playoff numbers. But let's just be honest. People need to start watching the games. You can't tell me with a straight face that if the Grizzlies and the Pacers swap Jaren Jackson Jr. and Miles Turner, that the Grizzlies would be better. That's not the truth. And I know that's not the truth because if we use Game 6 last night where the Pacers blew out the Oklahoma City Thunder to force a Game 7, Miles Turner, you want to know what he did in 26 minutes? And I watched all 26 minutes of this, and I even went on record saying that Miles Turner looks like he forgot to play offense. In 26 minutes, Miles Turner scored 3 points, shot 1 of 9 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3, made 1 free throw, had 4 rebounds. Now, granted, he had a plus-minus of 19, but that's simply just because OKC didn't know how to play offense, and Indiana's defense was just stifling. That's literally all it was. Other than that, you take Miles Turner off the court, you're good. You're good. We saw Indiana play well on defense and offense with Tony Bradley. Let's just be real. Like, come on. Like, if you're going to make takes like this, please watch the games. Please watch the games. That's all I got to say about that part. Now, with the Ja Morant part, I agree with him on that. Ja Morant does need to be more available and more durable going in the future if the Grizzlies want to make it far. That part I agree with. The part I don't agree with, though, is the fact that he said the Grizzlies went wrong when they traded Dillon Brooks away. And there's a whole video on YouTube of this man saying that Dillon Brooks is a liability. Not to mention, this is the same man on live television. He poured honey on a cutout of Dillon Brooks because he was getting cooked by LeBron in the Lakers series. He was the main catalyst saying that the Grizzlies need to move on from Dillon Brooks because he doesn't provide anything to the team. He's just all bark, no bite. These are words that Kendrick Perkins have said himself. So the fact that we're even at this point is crazy to me. And he's not the only one. I see Grizzlies fans daily saying, Dillon Brooks, we went wrong with Dillon. There are at least 15% of players that are on the level of Dillon Brooks that are better. Just being honest. You can have a Dillon Brooks type player and he's better than Dillon Brooks. That's just being honest. And I'm tired of people acting like, Dillon Brooks is just the catalyst for success on the team. I mean, you look at the Rockets, they're like, oh my God, Dillon. Look at the Rockets. They're the number 2 seed in Dillon Brooks effect. And then they get bounced in the first round the same way the Grizzlies have been getting bounced in the first round as the second seed. So let's be real about the Dillon effect. Some teams build from it, some teams don't. The Grizzlies realize they don't build from it. Let it go. I'm tired of this take. Please leave the past in the past. Dillon is happy where he is, and the Grizzlies are happy without Dillon. Let's leave that in the past. So please, let's retire this take, and let's just move on from it. The Grizzlies are going to build a better roster without Dillon, and let's just leave it at that. Let's leave it in the past. I'm sorry, y'all, if I'm gonna get riled up. I'm just tired of seeing this take every single week, every single month. I'm tired of it. I really am. Be grateful for what we have now, because I remember the times where Dillon shot 30% in a playoff series, shooting us out of games. So the fact that people miss him and think the team is worse without him is crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Like I that's why I just say people need to watch the games and realize missing Dillon isn't the problem. The Grizzlies need to figure out a scheme that will work for them, and they need to figure out a regimen that allows their players to be healthy, and they need to figure out a roster that is championship ready. That is all they need, and they are ready. That's literally all they need. And that's all I'm going to say on that. So that's it for this edition of Grizzlies Daily. Make sure y'all like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe and turn on post notifications so that way you can see when we post again. We're almost at 100 subscribers, so shout out to y'all for subscribing to the channel. We've been doing good lately, so I really appreciate y'all watching it. And as always, my name is Melek, and I really appreciate y'all for tuning in, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Y'all stay blessed.